So good evening. This is the November 2nd open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's amended bill of June 15th, 2021, due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. This meeting will feature public comment. The commission is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting is also being broadcast live and recorded by HCAM. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast by voice or video may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. After commission members have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote of the commission members. And we will do a roll call vote of attendees of the commission. Melissa Ricos.
Here.
Janine LeBlanc.
Here.
Ted Barker Hook.
Ted is here.
Ed Harrow.
Here.
Jim Cirillo.
Here.
And this is Jeff Barnes. Kerry Reed should be joining us at approximately 7:30. Let's do a roll call vote of staff. Kim Cyril McCauley.
Present.
Anna Rogers.
Present.
And Matt Verrill.
Here.
Okay. All right, great. Let's jump into the work session items. Kim, we have documents for review. I think this is pretty straightforward unless there's any issues that you need to bring up.
There are none.
All right. If I can get a motion to have Kim sign the documents on behalf of the commission members present.
So moved. Janine.
In a second.
I'll second. Melissa.
All right, Melissa, we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Aye. One of us is aye.
and I'm an aye. All right. The draft minutes of August 24th, they look good to me. Any comments or questions from the commission members? Okay, if I can get a motion to approve the minutes of August 24th, please.
So moved.
Make that motion.
All right, thank you, Ted. Second.
I'll second.
Second.
Melissa.
All right, Melissa, and the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Ted is an aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Heritage Properties, an enforcement order compliance update. We have Mr. Bemis on the call. I don't think I saw him join yet.
I am expecting Mr. Bemis. Perhaps he's just a little tardy.
Okay, let's move forward to the Eversource Energy request for extension permit. Kim, 52 and 55 Wilson Street. You want to give us a quick overview there, please?
Sure. I saw Tracy Adamski. Are you on the call?
I am.
Tracy, do you want to give us just a quick overview of the extension? I understand Eversource is requesting a 1-year extension of the existing LNG permit.
That is correct. So this is for the ongoing liquefaction facility replacement project that's on both 52 and 55 Wilson Street. We received an order of conditions back in November of 2018, and construction is ongoing. And we It's anticipated that the majority of construction will be done by the end of the calendar year, but some of that will spill over into 2022, including some of the stabilization and plantings that won't occur until the spring of next year. So there's, no changes to the work within the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. We just need additional time in order to complete the construction project.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Comments, questions from commission members?
This is Ed. My
Yes,
question
Mr.
is, have we had any ongoing issues?
Through the chair?
Yes, go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, Ed, I can address that. Largely, I don't think that we've had any ongoing issues that have really commanded my attention. I know from the project files that there was a small violation that occurred in 2019 that was addressed with Dawn. There have been a little bit of turbid sediments that sometimes pick up in the stormwater infrastructure kind of north of the holding tanks here and head out towards Wilson Street. Let me see if I can get you more of an overview. It's the suspended sediments are kind of the same issue that we have over with the Legacy Trails properties. Is the soils in this area are very fine and become suspended very easily. So I did a site walk with Ms. Adamski and some other representatives, and we talked about just some improvements to the erosion controls at that time to kind of help that situation. I have not observed turbid sediments being discharged at all since our site walk this summer. So I don't have any particular concerns at this point. I'm not sure, Ms. Adamski, if you could speak to if some of those erosion sedimentation controls or BMP kind of maintenance that we talked about on the site walk were implemented.
There were some that were implemented. So some of the issue is actually not related to the construction part of the project. There's stormwater that comes onto the property off of Wilson Street and then goes around a constructed swale around the tanks and then exits off the property into that stream system that Kim had noted. And so we had taken a walk through that and have made some, or Eversource has made some improvements there, including adding some riprap around the corner, so that northeastern corner, because in that location, stormwater comes from both Wilson and Legacy Farm, that intersection, it comes over there. So that area has been better stabilized. And there's been some, additional cleaning out of the swale system. So we still keep an eye on that and have flop logs on hand on site. But that's one of the things that we found that helps to settle out the sediments in the stormwater.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair?
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I would just comment, I guess I would echo Kim's comment. There hasn't really been any significant issues. And I would say that the applicant and their consultants have done an excellent job of preparing the SWIP reports. They're always well prepared, properly prepared with photographs and submitted in a timely manner, which we don't always see. So I think projects that do a good job on their SWIP compliance, I think, should get a little love from the commission. So I would just mention that.
All right, thanks, Matt. Yeah, and I think Kim had mentioned earlier in a conversation that Eversource has been doing a good job. There's been some silt sacks in some of the catch basins along Wilson Street, and they've been very diligent about making sure that those are changed out, after the storms. And, they're doing as I said, they're doing a good job with that. So Mrs. Adamski, we appreciate that and the efforts that Eversource is doing. So thank you.
I'll pass that along to the team too. Thank you.
Great. Okay, if I can get a motion to approve the 1-year extension permit, please.
This
So
is
moved.
Ed. I'll make that motion.
All right, Ed, in a second.
Ted will second.
Ted, okay, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay, great. Thank you very much for all your diligence on this project, Mrs. Adamski.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Okay,
And
have a
thank
good
you for your
evening.
time this evening. You too.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
Do you want to, Jeff, take a moment to let the public know of the hearings that have been continued to another date?
I do. You read my mind. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So for folks who are on the call, we had a couple, or actually a few last minute continuations. Two were the mass laborers training facilities, the pond dredging, and the restoration plan. Those are continued until November 16th. We have the 34 Downey Street boat lift notice of intent that's been continued to the 16th. And McCarthy, 22 Winter Street, notice of intent for a septic replacement and garage alterations. That has also been continued to the 16th. Thank you, Ted. Okay, we're close to 7:15, so let's move on with the new hearings. Ravenwood LLC, this is an amended NOI. And I just need to read this one before we get started. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hear a public hearing on 11/2/2021 at 7:00 PM virtually online to hear all persons interested in an amended notice of intent filed by Ravenwood LLC to construct an access roadway with associated site work. The location is 0 Wood Street, Assessors map U14, Block 28, Lot 0, Lot 1, and Lot A. All right, do we have a representative for the applicant on the call? Okay. It doesn't sound like it, but Kim, I think this one is pretty straightforward. We had talked about this a few meetings ago in executive session. This is the previous NOI that was filed where the applicant was requesting that we omit conditions 105 and 106 from the order of conditions. I don't know if you had anything more to add to that, Kim, for color.
I do not. Let me just pull up those specific conditions so the commission can see.
And I think Kim and Matt did a cursory review of the new amended NOI that was filed. Everything else looks consistent. It just looks like these two conditions were omitted.
Just
So I
for
think this-
clarification, Jeff, it was just me. Matt's review was not funded.
Okay, I apologize. Yep. So I think this is pretty straightforward. So let me just open it up to questions, comments from commission members.
Pardon my faulty memory.
Yes, Ed, go ahead.
Does this have anything to do with the site walk that Matt was to do that for some reason or another, the applicant's consultant couldn't seem to fit it into his schedule?
Indirectly, I would answer that as a, well, indirectly, I would say yes, but directly, no.
Can you please clarify?
Well, I think Scott Goddard is coming into the meeting now, so maybe he can provide some clarification, but I think that, this was simply a request. The NOI was filed. The commission did not file the order of conditions within the 21-day period as required. So there was a request for a superseding order of conditions. The commission went back to the applicant and asked if they would reconsider that submittal for the superseding order of conditions. The applicant was agreeable to that with the caveat that we omit these conditions 105 and 106 from the order, which the commission agreed to, and here we are. Does that answer your question, Ed?
I guess.
Okay. Questions, comments from the public? If I can get a motion to close and approve the amended NOI for Ravenwood 000 Wood Street, please.
I'll make the motion, Melissa.
All right. Melissa, in a second, please.
Janine, I'll second.
Okay, we'll do the roll call vote. That was Janine with the second. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Oh, I missed the conversation, so I have to pass on this one.
okay. Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
No.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay,
And this
All
is
right.
Scott Goddard, so thank you very much for that.
you're welcome, Scott. Thank you. Okay, Salon Logistics, Interstate 90. This is a request for determination of applicability. Mr. McManus, are you on the call?
I am, Mr. Chairman, thanks.
How you doing tonight?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thanks. You want to give us an overview, please?
Sure. Back in June of this year, there was a truck accident on the turnpike headed east at the location you have up, you're seeing there. The truck came, pulled over on the edge of the pavement and lost about 150 gallons of diesel fuel and some unknown amount of fuel oil. Mass DEP responded with the fire department. They did the initial cleanup, vectored up a bunch of soil, removed it. Subsequent sampling by Jeff Curtis, who's the site licensed site professional, who's actually on the call tonight, revealed that essentially they didn't get enough, didn't clean it up sufficiently under the mass contingency plan regs. There was an emergency cert, but due to access limitations and that sort of thing, the emergency cert expired, and they need to go back and do a little bit of cleanup. On the image before you, you'll see there's a rectangle right off the road bounded by the pink flags. That's the area where the work is proposed. As you can see, it's got just a very little bit of a slope to the left. There's a wetland and Whitehall Brook to the rear. If you look in that upper picture, where you see that there's one tree kind of in the upper left corner of the picture, that's where the BVW is, and a little bit beyond that is Whitehall Brook, which runs kind of perpendicular to the highway there. So the proposal is basically to, they need police and traffic detail to park on, take over a lane there with a Vector truck and workers on foot. They loosen the soil, the Vector literally sucks it up into the truck, and then it would be replaced with clean soil and topsoil. What I've proposed is after the topsoil goes in, native herbaceous seeding. As you can see, this is an area regularly subject to maintenance. Any woody plantings would get mowed down by DOT in a heartbeat. And one of the other things that I propose, if you can scroll down a little bit, whoever is Kim, if you're controlling, you'll see in the background of this picture, there's a lot of the ground surface here, out within and outside of the work area, is covered with wood chips, apparently from the highway, vegetation clearing. My recommended and proposed approach is to, after the seeding goes down, the topsoil and seeding goes down, to simply rake out some of those chips, get about a 50% coverage on the topsoil, tamp those in place, and leave them, which would do two things. It would eliminate some of the deeper piles of chips where there's nothing growing out there, and also provide some additional stabilization, because as I said, access here is extremely difficult. The only way to do it safely is, with a major event of closing a lane and details and flashing lights and everything that goes along with that. So I'm really trying to go and get something that's kind of once in, once out proposal. So what I've proposed also is straw wattles without netting, without plastic netting anyway, above to get run on, and below at the bottom of the work area, with really the intent of, it's a fairly small area, of being able to go and be confident that when this gets done and walk away, that it won't require any maintenance.
Okay. All right, I think this looks pretty straightforward to me. For the record, though, Mr. McManus, I don't think an emergency certification was issued, at least through the Hopkinton Conservation Commission.
That's correct.
Okay. So, that was an oversight. I don't think it's a big deal in this situation, given the kind of minimal nature of the impacts. But let me open it up to the, Matt, did you have any comments that you wanted to make on this? And then I'll open it up to the commission.
Not really. I had issued a memo with a few comments, but it turned out that the main descriptive part of the application had been left out, I guess incidentally, when it was submitted. So once that was sent in, it kind of answered the question. So I think it's all set from my perspective.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think we did get the immediate response action plan from Mr. Curtis and Mr. McManus. So I think we're good there. Okay. Comments from commission members?
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
Kim, although you did it already, I have a question. In the lower photo, it looks like there's a pipe heading into the wetlands. Can you tell me what that is? And is it serving a good purpose, a bad purpose? Is it just litter?
I think it's probably just part of the very substantial litter that's there along the highway. I can tell you it's not a functional pipe. Okay. I don't remember it. There was a lot of litter around there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall it either.
I'm sorry?
I don't recall it either.
I assume part of this work would also be to pick up the litter in that area?
Not necessarily, unless it was related to the cleanup.
But if it's going into the wetland? Like
we're not working in the wetland.
In the photos that said the tree is roughly the border of the wetland, the tree line.
Right. I think it's a little bit beyond there, but yes.
So if we're raking those wood chips right by the wetland border, wouldn't it be wise to pick up the garbage that might be in the wetland? Is that something that could be done?
Hypothetically, I'd have to see if the insurance company would be willing to do that.
Well, I think,
Okay.
you know, if it's a pipe, it looks like there's a couple other small, you know, we're not asking you to, you know, I think if there's a few pieces of litter in the kind of response area, those can be cleaned up with minimal
We
effort. I
have-
don't think the insurance company needs to get involved, I guess is my point.
Yeah, we do have some plastic related to when DEP was there they put it over the soil and they weighted it down with bags of Speedy Dry. We have to remove that. It certainly is part of this.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, other comments, questions from commission members? Comments or
Through the chair?
questions from, yep,
Sorry, I would just confirm or ask the applicant as part, you know, should the commission decide to issue a negative DOA, as part of that, I would imagine you guys let me know that you would like to not confirm the boundary of this resource area.
That's
Yes.
fine, sure.
Okay.
You know, we only did the pertinent section. It goes off onto private property. So, yeah, that's fine. I understand, you know, no one representing the commission was able to get out there. So I understand that.
all right, comments from the public? Okay, if I can get a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability, please.
So moved.
And that was Jim in a second.
I'll second, Melissa.
Right, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa seconded. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Jeff is an aye, and I think we are all set. All
All
right,
right.
Mr. McManus, Mr. Curtis, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all very
you.
much. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, moving along, Aho 103 Wood Street. This is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation.
So Scott Goddard's here. So this project, we've continued out a number of times, and I think we're going to end up continuing it out again tonight. So we've struggled. We've had some beaver conditions on the site that have created some flooding. And there has been a replacement of some flags that were missing. We've had some survey go back and forth on relocating flags. We got some comments from Matt, and I think we've pretty much incorporated all of Matt's comments in this front piece, the piece that's displayed on your screen right now. And I think there'll be agreement on that. The trickier part is way in the back on the other sheet. Yeah, that one. So there's a few little kind of upland island features in the rear that, yep, that and those areas off to the left, that the flags have all gone missing since the work was done. There's deep water conditions out there. It's been very hard to access, just physically getting across there with chest waders, that kind of a thing, to these upland islands. The surveyors are struggling as well. So this part back here is not been, it's been reflagged as wetlands, but we're trying to get the surveyors now out there and figuring out how they can get it located. So the front part is done. I think that we don't have the plans yet to give you that show the updated changes as a result of, hold on one second, Joy, enough. So the plans still need a little bit of love to close this out. So I'm optimistic that we can get the surveyors out there before the winter sort of sets in and such like that. But that's kind of where we're at. And that's what's been taking this so long.
Okay, so should we continue this out to the 16th?
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of love going around tonight. That's a good thing. So, okay. All right, so we'll continue that out to the 16th. And we will move along.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ravenwood LLC. This is a subdivision continuation. of a notice of intent.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Scott Goddard again. So we have tonight, Joe Marquardon is going to take the bulk of this presentation. There's been a significant revision that's been proposed to this project since the last time you've seen it. And we have not a finalized plan, but a fairly advanced draft plan before we make it a new official submission. Joe wanted to kind of go over where he's at with the revised plan. So Joe, I think it'd be best if you walk through what this plan change looks like.
Certainly. Evening all.
Good evening.
After we left last hearing, we took a hard look at the designs that we had and the feedback that we had received from the commission and made some dramatic changes to the plan. Tried to include it all on this one sheet to make it a little easier to review. The biggest change is that we have eliminated one of the proposed house lots. We are now down to an 8-lot project. Helps us in a variety of locations, helps us with impervious area, helps us with lot line configurations, and eases some of the strain on meeting some of the requirements some of the commission members had mentioned. We have also shortened our roadway. We are about 22 feet shorter than we had originally proposed. We have shifted that cul-de-sac at the end about 45 feet westerly, give us a bit more flexibility with regard to house placement, basin construction, stormwater basin construction, those sorts of things. In response to one concern regarding what we have been informally calling a water budget at the northerly side, we have introduced an infiltration basin, basin number 31, that you see on the plan that is being highlighted right there. That will allow us to continue to mitigate stormwater flows, but also infiltrate stormwater through the bottom of that basin, which should alleviate some of the concerns mentioned regarding impacts to the wetlands, drying up the wetlands, if you will. We have also taken it upon ourselves to shift basin 23, the large basin at the easterly side that handles the brunt of our stormwater mitigation. We have shifted that another 14 feet westerly, closer to Hayden Row. Our riverfront area disturbance is now down around 15,000 square feet or 5%. So we have made a dramatic change from the original design with the amount of riverfront area that we are impacting. We've tried to clean up the plan a little bit to try and highlight some of the ideas, but I left on the home sites from the original plans. You'll see those dashed in blue lines on the plan. You can see we have made dramatic shifts in our house locations based on our roadway shortening, based on our shift of the cul-de-sac, but chiefly because we have given up that one house lot. Allows us to pull back some of those locations to areas that allow some yards, allow us to do some things around the site that we feel we need on the development side and still stay on the right side of the regulations and some of the concerns mentioned by the members. So an awful lot happened to the plan. Be happy to dive into any portion of it that you'd like to discuss further.
Thank you, Mr. Marquardt. Well, I'll say I for one am very pleased with the changes. I think you've addressed the concerns that the commission has brought up in the previous meetings. I'll leave it at that and let me open it up to the other commission members for their comments and questions.
Jeff, this is Jim. I would echo that, and I think this is much, much better, pulling everything out, deleting that extra house, that ninth house. Thank you.
This is Ed. I got secret off the record advance notice of this and told I was going to be very happy, and I can confirm that I am.
Thank you, Ed.
So through the chair, with the reduction of the house that I was pulling up, it looks like maybe only 3 of the houses would even come before us now.
I think you're correct, Janine. I'm just having the plan is a little bit difficult to.
Yeah, one of the things we're gonna have to think through, this is Scott, is that, you know, we have before you 7 notices of intent or 8 for individual lots that are on the agenda following this. Those lots aren't exactly the same lots that you're seeing in front of you right here. So there's some administrative things to think through as to how to handle those other applications if we advance this plan. If we can, you know, these lots don't exist necessarily per the assessor's maps, right? It's just, this has all still just been one assessor's lot. So all the notifications and such might change. So there might be a way that I can still amend existing applications to reflect revised houses and lot lines, but I'll just throw that out there as a administrative issue that probably Kim and I need to talk about.
Through the chair,
Well,
Yes, go ahead, Kim.
just to make sure we don't run afoul of open meeting law, should you open the lot hearings just so that they can kind of get grouped into the discussion?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Jeff,
Yeah, go ahead,
before
Jim.
you do that, we can't have a hearing on something that is not a tax parcel, is not a lot, because we have different references for all of these files. It seems to me that all these files need to be closed out and all new files need to be opened. And then, by the way, I wanted to point out that we don't know anything about the landscaping here or the pervious impervious. So we're not looking at, in any event, we're not looking at individual lots here in terms of where the houses are shown. It seems like it's way too premature to open any hearings.
Well, we're not, all the single family home NOIs were continued, Jim. So they're not
Right.
being reopened. They're
Okay.
continued. But
We're
to
only
Kim's
doing-
point, but to Kim's point, I think, you know, they are being contemplated as part of this overall subdivision revision. So I think it is applicable.
So if we're not, what are we opening?
Through
We're
the
not
chair.
opening. Go ahead, Kim.
1758?
Sorry, Jim, just for clarification, the lots were already opened and discussed at a previous meeting.
Right. Right.
So because they're being discussed now and that we have them as a notice of intent application before the commission, I do think that they need to be open. The fact that we're discussing this, just to make sure that we're not
Yep.
running afoul, because there are already applications that exist unless the applicant tells
Yeah.
us that they want to withdraw them.
All right. Good point. Thank you.
Yeah, so let me just let's continue. So for lots 1, lot 4, 5, lot 2, 3, lot 6, and lot 9 on the agenda, those are continued NOIs that have been filed by Ravenwood LLC. Those are being contemplated as part of the current discussion, just for the record. Okay.
And my only point, Jeff, was that we came in with separate applications for those lots at the request of the commission. We originally came in as all one application. So now we have reconnoitered lot lines, as it were. So I think I just have to think that, in response to this discussion, if this discussion for this configuration goes positively and we're going to revisit it, I don't know that we have to do that at this public forum, but I'll just communicate with Kimberly, I think, maybe, and try to figure that out.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think you've gotten positive feedback from the commission on the reconfigured subdivision here. And what I would add as part of the discussion with Kim is for you to discuss with her. I mean, if there's only going to be one or two, possibly three houses where, there's going to be impact to the buffer zone, maybe it makes sense to just file one NOI for the subdivision in those 2 or 3 lots. I'll leave that for you and Kim to discuss and to, determine what makes sense. I think that would, just from an efficiency standpoint, it might make more sense. Kim, does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, that would be the purview of the commission. So.
Okay. Okay, so I think, Scott, I think this looks good. Let me just open it up quickly for any comments from the public. Doesn't sound like there are any. I don't see any hands. So, you want to go back and just kind of tighten this up for us?
Well, yeah, I mean, Joe will clean, this is pretty advanced, but Joe will just convert this into a plan that can be, submitted as a official revision with limits of work and all that kind of good stuff. So
Correct. We need to flesh out a few of the details, tie the different elements of the plan package together, and produce some stormwater calcs. So we've got a little ways to go, but we can certainly pull that together in time for the next hearing. We just wanted some feedback first, quite frankly.
Okay.
Through the chair?
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
So I think it's very helpful on this plan where you showed the old house areas. I think it would be useful for, even before the next hearing, for review purposes, if you were to have some sort of a figure that, even if it just shows sort of fullest extent limit of work, where the road was, where the houses were and are now, just sort of big picture, so we can kind of see graphically how the whole thing has apparently shrunk down. Just so that we're not kind of, because the way I would do it otherwise would be just be flipping back and forth between the old plan and the new plan and having some sort of figure. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to have all the detail on it, so the plan's not super crowded, but something that the commission members and staff can look at that, kind of has the wetlands and the buffer zones and the riverfront area as sort of that stuff doesn't move, but everything else has, so we can see exactly how it's moved, I think would be useful.
Appreciate
Matt,
that. I struggle with that, in that you pushed me to clean up the plans. So we heading back in a direction where I'll be creating something that just invites extra review, trying to wade through the different lines, different types. Is there some way we can, I guess, from the commission, find out just what you'd like to see? I'm certainly going to add limits of work to the plan tonight that you see tonight. If I were to give you a quick location on the roadway, pre this change and currently now, would that be enough for the group?
Through the
Are
chair.
you referring to, Matt, maybe like part of the alternatives analysis to kind of support?
Yeah,
Back up
essentially,
the-
yeah. I mean, I thought I said I'm not looking to have a cluttered plan, but just sort of the main components of the plan, such as roadway, houses, limits of basin. Doesn't have to show all the grading within the basin, just limits of basin, limit of work, and you can have just one plan. The old plan has it all in red and the new plan has it all in green. And just so we, and it shows the riverfront area, the buffer zones and the wetland boundaries. Doesn't have to show anything else in my mind, just so we can see how does it shift and move as compared to where the buffer zone and riverfront area lines are.
That makes sense, Mr. Marquardt?
Yeah, it does. I'm just a little leery, based on feedback we received before about creating an extra busy plan. but we'll see if we can't pull something together that touches on those highlights that Matt brought up.
For the chair,
Yes.
and
ahead, Jim.
I would just build off, I think what Melissa was getting at, a plan of that nature could be used to help support the alternatives analysis, which the commission, I think, would still be looking for, just because there is still a little bit of alteration proposed in riverfront area. Not that it's not, permittable, just that, the regulations do require the alternatives just be shown. Just kind of walk us through that process of how we got to where we are today.
Yep, no, I think that makes sense, Kim, and that would, cover the, from the original submittal of the conventional subdivision plan to the clustered, plan with the multiple, with that was proposed previously to kind of this plan, which is also clustered, but the reduced house lots. I think that makes sense.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Carrie.
So the next steps would be getting the revised mapping, and then it would go back out for peer review. Is that correct? Like, because Beta would have to review the updated plans and provide us comments, correct?
I think so. They need to take a look at the new stormwater calcs that are being submitted by Mr. Mark Ronant. So that's
That
correct.
would be something that we would review before our next, whenever this comes before us again. Yeah, because I would say, like, looking at this additional, I don't know what you call it, based on whatever number was. I like this design better than seeing this big giant swale with check dams in somebody's backyard. But I am still concerned about the stormwater BMP in the top right corner. And I would like to, definitely look at the comments back from Beta for the new design once it's kind of all worked out.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. All right, Scott, Joe, does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, so we'll continue this out to the next meeting, which is the 16th. So if you can just submit to Kim a formal request via email, that would be great.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So back to the work session items. Mr. Bemis. I don't think he joined us, Kim.
I can reach out to him. See
Yeah,
what's
we might
going
have
on.
to we might have to push this to the next meeting. He's not on the call. Just scrolling through. Yeah, he didn't join. I don't see Mr. Gately on the call either. So, okay. So we'll just continue that out. Okay.
I'm surprised. I just spoke to him like an hour ago.
All right, well, maybe he'll join us. All right. McQueenie, 259 Wood Street. This is a request for a certificate of compliance.
You get a little background.
So I did see Mr. Nealon was on the call.
Oh, Peter Bemis is coming in now, Kim and Anna. Mr. Nealon, are you on the call? Mr. Nealon?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, good evening.
I apologize. Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So this is a request for a certificate of compliance. Do you have any background info for us?
I do. This is an order of conditions dating back to 2011 when the property was then owned by Sharon Listnow, Respite Center. The Respite Center. And then her partner, Mary McQueenie, took ownership and had this garage, I believe a deck added. And about a month into the project, after the issuance of the order of conditions, they came in with a change order, which, or a change to the plan, which I believe is referenced in Lucas Engineering's comments. Yeah, right there in number 2. And unfortunately, the work was done. There was an issue there. The original order called for 3 trees to remain. I believe it's in the southeast corner of the lot, but the request, because of the location of those trees, to have one of them actually removed, which did happen. But then since that time, some rhododendrons were planted, and it appears that a boxwood might have been planted as well to replace the area. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So quite a bit of time has gone by. The property was sold in August, and the order of conditions came up when the title was done, and the realization that no certificate of compliance was requested. So here we are.
Okay, I think it looks pretty straightforward. Matt, you just had a comment on the Japanese knotweed that you observed at the site, and possible, or potential efforts to kind of mitigate that so it doesn't get worse for the property owner.
Yeah, it's really just more of a heads up for the property owner. There was no condition in the order that even spoke to it at all, but I know the commission is cognizant of these issues, so just thought I'd include it as a comment, and perhaps that can be passed on to the current owners to, potentially reach out to Kim if they want to try and address it in some way, or at least keep it from getting worse. But yeah, other than that, I think everything looked fine.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, so the Japanese knotweed, Mr. Nealon, has a tendency to kind of overtake a lot of the vegetation at the property fairly quickly. It's a nuisance, kind of invasive species. So if you can relay to your client, Kim has information as to, what they could do to kind of mitigate that or treat it, if you will, if they're so interested. So just kind of a heads up for you, as Matt had indicated.
Yeah. Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to do that. I represented the seller.
Oh, okay.
Queenie, and it was requested by the buyer's attorney that we obtain the certificate of compliance. But I will make sure that the buyer's attorney gets the message that you folks are putting forth.
Okay, great. Thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I might.
Yes, go ahead, Ed.
So I'm like all over invasive species, and Japanese knotweed is all over town. I have met with Wayne Mezit, who is the chair of a Massachusetts organization that is attempting to educate people on invasives. Japanese knotweed is more than obnoxious. It gets into foundations, it gets under pavement. It is extremely difficult to eradicate, and I strongly encourage Mr. Nealon to bring this to the attention. Thank you.
Okay, and I think he did indicate that he would do that, but I appreciate that, Ed. All right, if I get a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 259 Wood Street,
So moved, Janine.
and a second,
A second from Ted.
and we'll do the roll call votes. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye, if it's Ed.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
All right.
and Jeff is an aye. I like to mix you guys up just to make sure you're paying attention.
Yeah, it's pretty clear you're doing this purposely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nealon.
Thank you all.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
I saw that little impish smile.
Mr. Bemis, can you hear us now?
I can. I'm sorry. I apologize. You did record time with all those notices. I really thought I would be much later in the evening. So congratulations.
We like to be efficient at the Hopkins Conservation Commission.
Well, you did a good job this evening. So I didn't
All
even
right.
get to me much before 8 o'clock. So I'm here. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate it.
Okay, yep, and thank you for meeting with us tonight. So Kim, did you kind of want to give us an overview of where we are with the enforcement order requests?
Sure.
Thank you.
So currently, as you guys all know, there's an outstanding enforcement order on this property, and there is a cease and desist in place, which prohibits new foundation starts at the site. In terms of the enforcement order, we have been working with Mr. Bemis on erosion and sedimentation control. The site stormwater system and BMPs were modified at their with the recommendation and review of Beta Engineering, who's our consultant at this site, and that occurred back over the summer when the problems first started occurring. One of the items is permanent BMPs impacted by fine sediments should be cleaned. The main basin, let's see if I can get a map for you, which is basin number 1. Oh, over here. To my understanding, a contractor has been acquired to clean it, but it has not occurred yet. So that item remains outstanding. Temporary stabilization has been ongoing, has been addressed and has been ongoing. The applicant now has a plan in place for stabilization at each house lot as it's constructed. And then the last item is the restoration and mitigation of the areas that resource areas which were impacted by fine suspended sediments that were kind of washed down from the site and then deposited. I received a report recently from Ecotech, which indicated that the work had been completed, that workers had hand removed some of the sediments that I had accumulated. I have not personally checked it out, but you know, we've got some photos and some documentation from Ecotech. As I had stated, we currently have the cease and desist on current foundation starts. The last time we had a turbid event was early September. Subsequent to that event occurring, the applicant discovered a uncontrolled underground pipe, which was discharging approximately in this area of this non-jurisdictional kind of flow path, which then obviously empties into the reservoir ultimately. The pipe was probably a remnant of the old Weston Nurseries days. So that also helped to find some of the source of some of the turbidity and then eliminate it. So that's the update on kind of enforcement. I know that the applicant here tonight would like to request that the commission consider approving some of the foundations and kind of reconsider their cease and desist. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And or Peter can kind of give his update. Beta engineering has been going out once a week and coordinating with Mr. Bemis and giving us these nifty construction observation reports. So they did one last week and they do have some recommendations for the applicant. And we can kind of go over those as we talk about how the applicant would like to move forward.
Thank you, Kim. So Peter, do you want to jump in here and kind of give us your status update, where you are, what's coming forward here in the next few weeks, and what you guys would like to do?
Right, thank you. So yes, we have been working with Beta on the site, and for the most part, our first roadway clubhouse, all lots are completed with the exception of 121 is close to completion. And we were actually looking to try to put down final pavement on that roadway this construction season. But if we don't have temperatures that are high enough to finish pavement, then we may likely stay into binder through to the beginning of sometime next year. But that shows you how far along we've actually come with that roadway system. Birkdale is actually in the same condition. So the two of them would actually be done at the same time if we could, because all of the front yards of the Birkdale lots are now sodded and complete and stabilized. So again, if we can get clubhouse at 21 done and we have good weather, then those two roadways will be final pavement. We still have construction activities on Weston Lane coming in. There's the first two units on the left are under construction, as are the latter units that are there as well, shown in green. There's still some starts to do that are part of phase 2. And then on Bandon Lane, all units are in with the exception of 2 singles that occur after the duplex that's shown in green on this plan. We still have to finish backfilling that foundation, which should have been completed today. And then that area will be fully stoned. So our approach to house lots now are that we get the foundation in, we put all utilities in, we backfill it, and then we're covering all the work limits with crushed stone. We've just found that to be the most reliable way to keep the site stabilized, to allow the workers to do their activities. And then part of that also is that we pave the driveway. And that gives them a place to put all the materials to do the work. And it's just been a very good program since we've instituted it, and that's how we'll go forward when we do every unit going forward. There are still stump grindings located in the rear of the Birkdale lots and the Bandon lots, so that sloping area between the two roadways. And once the backfill is completed on the duplex, that gives us the opportunity then to create the berm that's going to occur between those two areas. And that berm is a vegetated berm with evergreen plantings. Thank you, Kim, for pointing that out. And that area will go forward and will be done in the next couple of weeks. And then the rear of the Birkdale lots, because most of those units are approaching completion, will also be sodded. So those areas would then be 100% complete. So pretty much the project from Legacy Farms Road to the rear of the Bandon Lane Road would be done. On Bandon, we still have a number of units that are in construction, but again, all those yards are for the most part stone. And that will be the way we again go forward with that. So we'll have 2 singles that have to be done between the duplex and the existing singles on Bandon on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, everything's pretty much complete that you see on this plan. On the basin, as Kim had outlined, we did intend to have those rocks removed. We actually had scheduled Bella Construction to do that for us on 2 separate occasions over the past month. And for different reasons, they did not show, unfortunately. We've since retained a different contractor. They had equipment problems to give them a reason for why they didn't show. They actually had two machines in their group actually go down completely, and the engines to repair them are sitting in the harbor, I guess, in Los Angeles, like everything else today. So unfortunately, we're stuck with that system, and good intentions were that they would be doing this work. The machine broke down, can't get the parts to repair it. So we've hired CMS Construction out of Marlborough, Massachusetts to do the work there. They will be on site tomorrow. With this rain, we hold the water in the basin. So today we actually pump the water down and put that in the temporary cell that's located on the west end of the project, south side of Weston Lane. So that work was completed today. We'll remove the rocks over the rest of this week. I think I'll be done actually by Friday, but most likely it could carry into next week. The intent is that we will line that basin again with a smaller trap rock that we can then revisit sometime in probably the second or third quarter in 22, when we've advanced this project far enough along, we hope, to not require it, and we can put the permanent stabilization in the basin and not have to do this again. But we'll hold water in that basin through the winter period, and we'll use it just the way we've been using it as a holding cell with very slow discharge. And to recap over the last storm, we actually had very good water quality. I had tested the water before the storm started, and we were on the order of 10 NTU. And at the peak of the storm, during those very, very hard, intense rains we got, we were at 12. It easily went back to 10. Actually, Sunday morning, I was out there at 6 o'clock because I just couldn't wait. I told my wife I need to leave. I need to find out how the site's held up, and it was just fine. So we've actually come a long way from where we were. The most important problem was that underground pipe that Kim had outlined. That actually ran along the southern end of our project, pretty much west to east to where that discharge was. And it was only a 4-inch pipe. I actually have pictures. If you allow me to share the screen, I can show you. It really did not take much. When you put a straw in about 2.5 acres of land, you've got unsuitable soils for leaching, like we had them stockpiled there, but they would still leach into the ground. And that was like a sponge. So no matter what we did on our upper areas along the surface, this was going underground off-site. And so until we actually removed the pipe, could we stop that flow? So probably at least 2 to 3 storms there during that September, late August, early September period, where, again, no fault of ours, we were trying, but it was still our fault because it was coming off site. When we found what it was, we took care of it, and we've restored that area now 100%. So if I can share screen, I'll show you what I'd like if I could. Is that okay, Kim?
Is the commission interested in seeing photos, or do you guys want to
I think
kind of
we're all
talk about?
set, Mr. Bemis.
Okay. Well, then I just would like to, so then the last thing I want to close with is that we still have piles of fill that are unsuitable and resist stabilization. In the pictures, I was going to show you what we were able to do with some of what we call the subsoil and loam mix. We actually have got fully seeded slopes, fully grass growing slopes. I mean, they are green. It looks like a green hillside through much of the site. But then we have areas where we have a more not subsoil, the glacial till soils. And those just don't have a good mixture of organics. So they have some grass growth on them. So we've been able to keep them stabilized, but they're not. Actually, that is a perfect picture. That one, Kim. Yeah, that's the one with the pile where we're actually growing grass. We have other piles that are just not taking to seed as well. And I would like to get those permanently sequestered. So basically the permanent, if you don't mind holding that picture for one moment, the permanent sequestering would be that if we can build our phase 3 units, we need backfill on all of the units that are on the low side of Weston Lane. And the first unit to be completed in phase 3 would be the triplex, and we're going to do them from right to left. And by doing this work, I can take piles of earth that have been stockpiled and permanently put them in place. and then complete the stone cover that we have, and it will be done. We will not have any further issues with that soil, and it will be permanently in place. And right now I feel somewhat hamstrung because I have piles of earth that I can't do anything with permanently, but I do need to eventually do something with them. if you
So
give
that,
us
so
permission
you're
to resume.
proposing that you do that in like the next few weeks, Mr.
Yes,
Bean?
sir.
So you can
Yes,
see.
sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what's shown in green on this plan. We were going to go from the triplex to the duplex, and then there's more duplexes as you go along Lower West End. And then obviously there'll be other areas that we can build. And we just want to show you that we actually have the right system in place so that you can see that this will go forward in a uniform, controlled manner. We have control systems on our roadway systems. We've not had really any serious erosion. What we've been dealing with is the residual from those earlier events. We still have sediment in our detention basin. You know, and I've cleaned all the catch basins several times since the initial storms back in July, excuse me. I just had New England stormwater systems out to pump all the catch basins again. So we keep them clean. We know what the problems were, and I'm sorry for what happened, but I can tell you going forward, we have a much better system in place. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I can just interject, you know, I was out at the site yesterday, and you know, it's to the point that you made earlier. I mean, what you guys have done the past couple months is very impressive, and you know, we appreciate it. You know, you've really kind of turned the site around in my eyes, in terms of, you know, the stormwater mitigation and putting the right controls in place. So, you know, thank you to Mr. Gately and yourself for those initiatives. I think, so one question I had, there was some phase 3 foundations that you were looking to get released. But there's still phase 2 work that needs to be done. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So those have limited amounts of excavation. In particular, they're where Kim is pointing to now. Those are on the upper western area. So the only fill that would come out of those is the cellar hole itself. The land has already been brought to what I would call final grade. So we generate very little surplus from that. So what we would do is those last 2 that I have to do on lower Bandon, those would use that fill from that area. I'm looking to try to dispose of significant volumes of fill, which is what those lower lots on Weston need. Each one of them will require a great deal of backfill, and that will allow us to permanently get that fill off the surface of the ground. And we're going to take it from those areas that aren't growing vegetation. Like I said, Kim showed you the one picture where we've got a really nice hillside of turf. That's just going to stay that way for the winter. I won't touch that until spring, because I don't really need to. But I do need to continue to build here to kind of pay for everything I had Mr. Gately spend money on. But more importantly, to put the fill away permanently. I mean, honestly, that is what's going to happen. There's a great deal of fill needed on those low lots.
I got it.
And
okay.
Until we proceed, we can't do that. So thank you.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes, go ahead, Kim.
Mr. Bemis, where did that fill originate from? Didn't you have to make a large excavation here? Wouldn't it be the source of that fill was this area?
Some of it was from there, but not all of it. Some of this has come from other areas of the site. I won't disagree, but some of that was removed from that area, particularly actually where the duplex is shown. That was the fill pile that had sat there for those July storms. That's the fill pile that had gotten moved to the other side. And that would have been used for the backfill of that triplex. That's why it was sitting there. But we just got stopped with that weather pattern that we just couldn't get ahead of. And now these several months later, we actually have done it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I think, you know, there's a couple kind of outstanding things that Kim is looking for, Mr. Bemis. So there was, you know, the sequencing plan. I think what we're looking for as a commission and what Kim has requested is, more than a 15-day kind of a 30-day sequencing plan, but something more kind of, long-term. So that was one thing. The stormwater calcs for the culvert design, that was changed. I think we're looking for that.
We
there's a cou-
we had supplied that to Beta back in, I want to say it was the May timeline.
Okay,
And I did provide Kim with a copy of that. I actually thought Dawn McAdams had a copy of that when we submitted everything to John Gelsich at planning, because that was a full vetting process. We actually had to, go through the whole system to make that modification.
For the chair,
yes, go ahead, Kim.
Peter, I think what Jeff is referring to is the swale that was recently installed. You and I had talked about this. Beta observed that it wasn't built exactly to the grades of that design that was approved in May by the planning board. So they were looking for stormwater calculations just to back up that slight change.
Okay, yeah, we can update those.
I said culvert.
I misunderstood, so I
Yeah,
apologize.
I said culvert. I misspoke. It was the swale.
Okay.
And that just definitely needs to happen before these houses get constructed, obviously, because you're going to box yourself in.
Yeah, well, the area of the swale that's behind those units, those 5 that you see there are not that section that's done. That actually is completed and goes back to the west. So there's no impact from that. You can see right in the picture here, the triplex and half of the duplex are before it actually goes down to the other swale. So it's coming from east to west. Where the modification section occurred, it was on the west side, about just a little bit more west of where you have your hand now on the picture. But I'm going to be happy to give them the details for that. We actually had lined the entire channel with permeable sand. We brought sand in from McIntyre Loam here in town, so that we, because that was where I told you we had the unsuitable materials that Western Nurseries had put there. Basically, they were just loam tailings, and it was causing the all this area to drain underground off-site. So we removed that and we lined that area so that it would work properly.
Okay.
But we'll do the calculations to get to Beta. I'm fine with that.
Okay. So I'm amenable to releasing the building permits at Kim's discretion, what she feels is appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bemis. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves again and, run into any issues. I think, you guys have made great progress here. And, I just want to make sure that we, keep the site tight and, we don't have any issues going forward. So, I think there's a couple things that need to be submitted before Kim is going to be willing to do that. I don't want to speak for her. But if it's okay and acceptable by the other commission members, I would just suggest that you work with Kim. As Kim sees fit, she can release the permits, for the phase 3 foundations. And, that seems to make sense to me, but let me open it up to the other commission members for their comments and questions.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes, Jim.
I just want to say that I recognize also the substantial amount of work that was done there. It's unfortunate there was a pipe, but certainly fortunate that you found it draining out to explain why this was all happening. I'm in favor of them going forward, being able to go forward as soon as possible, because I understand the construction season and everything. Do we have to vote? I think we still have to vote on releasing it under that condition for Kim, right?
No, I think Kim can go forward with it without a vote. Kim,
Okay.
Is that correct, or do you disagree?
I agree. It's not It's not strictly a vote thing. But obviously, you know, I work for the commission. It would be great to have your temperatures on it.
I have a quick question on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
Is the intention there for releasing by releasing all of lot 3 or releasing a certain portion depending on how things are going?
Yeah, my take on it, Melissa, was releasing phase 3, not all at once, but as, you know, kind of Kim sees fit.
Okay.
So if it's, you know, 3 or 4 foundations at a time or 1 or 2, you know, really it's up to her discretion as to what she thinks is, you know, appropriate and doable.
Okay.
Any other comments from the commission?
To the chair, this is Ed.
Yep, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I think if I understand what you're proposing is what I would consider a more serialized as opposed to massively parallel construction project. And the more serialized approach should enable a bit more control, and I would be in favor of that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So one other question I had for you, Mr. Bemis, on the proposed improvements you're making to Wilson Street.
Yes.
Have you been in contact with both the Hopkinton and Ashland DPW on that? And
Yes,
if
sir.
so, what's their feedback and to you?
Yep. So that's good. And thank you for bringing that up, Kim. So we've got 2 areas where we would have improvements. One is on the access road that goes up to the cells where they do their treatment on the water byproduct from the process of treating it. And then the other is in the main driveway. So the one that Kim has the hand on now, the swale currently comes in perpendicular to the drain swale, if you will, along the driveway. So what we're looking to do is change the geometry of that and put in a much larger stone. And then when we get to the toe of the slope, we would actually make a sump and then allow the water to go to the east and discharge through a very large box culvert that exists today versus the pathway that it currently takes to the west that the town of Ashland seems to have done at some point without a permit. So this activity is, I think, crucial to the overall management of the system, and the hydrology for the area, I believe, naturally went to the east and it was artificially changed at some point.
Yeah. No, I get that. I just, the question was more geared towards, you know, have you been in contact with the DPWs from?
Oh, yes,
towns?
both. Right. So John
And are they-
Westerling has met us. John is supportive. Obviously, we have to go through the process with Hopkinton. That activity I just described to you is Hopkinton related. Town of Ashland owns all of this real estate. There's no other entity that owns it other than us, if you will, for what we do on our side of the line. And then Ashland on the other side. There's a slight amount of work that would be in the right of way. It does show the riprap extending beyond the line there, but that would be an improvement that, again, John Westerling would observe and recommend we complete.
Okay, so I guess, you know, whatever correspondence you have with the DPW on this, if you can just please copy Kim on that, so we're in the
Sure.
loop. That
Yep.
would be, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
I was going to try to have a notice of intent actually before you, again, if all the stars align, I'm actually before the Ashland Conservation Commission a week from today, or excuse me, a week from yesterday. So I was hopeful to find out if I, get their temperatures right, that we can go forward, because the other work that we would do is 100% in Ashland.
Okay.
So
right.
This is the plan we would go forward with. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, are there any comments or questions from the public?
The chair,
Yes, Kim.
just a question for Peter. Who would maintain this infrastructure?
Well, the one that's to the south here, that's on the town of Ashland's property, so ultimately they would. And then the one on the north is again on the town of Ashland property, so I guess ultimately they would. So I don't see that the town of Hopkinton having any responsibility for this. we would actually have to do it, obviously, in conjunction with Ashland being supportive of it. And I'm sure that they would want to monitor it with their folks, but we're willing to get the work completed.
Okay, and we appreciate those efforts. So thank you for
Thank you.
working through that. Okay. All right, I think unless there's any other questions, I think we're good for tonight, Mr. Bemis. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Appreciate
Have
it.
a good evening. And, you know, be in touch with Kim and she can give you direction on, you know, going forward with the project.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a couple public forum items. Kim?
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
I think we might have skipped number 5, Ravenwood.
You are correct. Thank you. Ravenwood LLC. This is a work session item, a request for minor modification.
Dan McIntyre here to address any questions on this one.
Good evening, Mr. McIntyre. Can you just
Good
walk
evening.
us kind of through what the minor modifications are, just for our edification?
Sure. So you'll
Thank you.
recall we've received an order of conditions earlier this year for Donna McIntyre, my cousin, for some improvements she wanted to make to her house. She ultimately decided to sell her house when kind of the reality of all this work hit her. The new owner is Ravenwood, who is building the subdivision around her. As background, Donna sold her 50+ acres to Ravenwood a couple of years ago for the subdivision. So it kind of made sense for her to sell her house to Ravenwood ultimately. Okay. So the new owners have a couple of improvements that they'd like to make. All of it, well, not all of it, with the exception of straightening out or fixing the driveway, is within the previous limit of work that was approved. Two things. One is in the front of the house, they would like to build a kind of a formal stone wall along the driveway and some steps coming up to the front door. And then a boulder wall kind of as a PIB right at the front yard to prevent any further encroachment toward the wetland in that area. The second one is up on the curve of the driveway as you head back toward Whisper Way. There's kind of there's a hump in the driveway right there. They think that by shifting the roadway further from the vernal pool, they can kind of reduce that hump and then restore where the existing pavement is, and it'll be an improvement to the driveway with respect to safety and snow plowing coming down that driveway. So those are the two big improvements that are that were not on the original plan, that were kind of inside the jurisdiction.
Okay.
The third one is to update the septic system. We originally had approved for just changing out the septic tank. The new owners are going to put in a new septic system, which is located just outside the 100-foot buffer. And then the fourth change is to raise the house. The previously approved garage addition would remain the same, but they would raise the house and build a new house on top of it. The existing house is a split level. The new house will be more conventional 2-story house, which kind of require the stone wall and the steps going up to the front yard.
Okay, so it's in the same footprint though?
It's same footprint, yes.
Yeah. All right, and then for the septic system, the field with the leaching trenches is just being replaced, right? So the connection there with the tank was, I think that was already contemplated previously, or we already looked at that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And that's pretty much outside the buffer zone, except for the one corner right there of the leach field.
Right.
Okay, and with the driveway, you're moving it further away from the vernal pool?
Yes. In this picture, well, that picture, we're moving it, well, the first picture anyways, that's the turnaround that was previously approved. Yeah, that one there, we're moving the driveway slightly to the left. There's, it's, I would say, kind of previously disturbed. There's no tree removal required as part of the work.
Mhm.
And then we'll restore the existing pavement that's in the vernal pool buffer.
Okay. I mean, it looks pretty straightforward to me. I think I'm good with it. Let me just open it up to the other commission members. Any questions or comments?
Jeff, I just have one comment. If you go back to that picture of the existing house, Kim. Can you go back to the one we just had? The photograph, I mean.
We want to stop.
Yep, stop. So, Jeff, I have a question. Is the proposed new driveway, that's not gonna, it's not going to, you're not gonna be removing those boulders, those rocks from there to put the new driveway in? You gotta go back to the one with the, showing the house. Where's that?
I think it was one or two back. That one?
Now, well, that one's fine. So okay, so the edge of the new driveway won't be beyond those stones that are there, the rocks that are there, correct?
No, no, in fact, in that picture, that portion of the driveway isn't changing at all.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
I think my only recommendation would be, if on the plan, I know there are various areas that the PIB is called out, and I know Mr. McIntyre said that this new wall is basically proposed as a PIB. I think maybe just a notation, and really, I guess, kind of continuing. You see the boulders that are proposed next to the restoration area around the wetland. If maybe one more boulder is added there, so really that whole section around the wetland becomes, just sort of return to nature situation, and the PIBs are clearly called out on the plan.
Yep, so we're like the erosion control
Yeah, right in
arrow
there.
is there.
Yes, yep.
Another boulder or two in there.
We can do
make
that.
sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right, if you can just make that modification to the plan, Mr. McIntyre, that would be great. Unless there are any other comments, I think we're good. Some minor modifications, so we don't need to vote on it. Yes, Carrie, go ahead.
So I'm making faces because I feel like when this came through, it was keeping the existing house, and we made a lot of considerations because we're like, it's existing conditions, and this. Now it feels like brand new. I'm not saying, I mean, we'll push through, but like the fact that they're raising it and rebuilding it, and it kind of feels like it's part of this bigger subdivision. I don't know. I don't know if I would have approved everything like this if I had known that that was going to happen, because it kind of feels like fresh. Not saying, like, especially the garage addition. I remember we made a big point of like, well, it's existing. We're trying to work with what's already there. Now they're starting from scratch with a new house. Feels like there was more opportunities that we're missing out on because of the approach that this came, and I'm sure it meets all the requirements, but it doesn't feel like a minor modification to me. But that being said, I know that Kim does a good job reviewing this and everybody, and I'm sure we can approve it. It just feels a little bait and switch to me. I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah,
I think if the footprint of the house was being expanded, I would agree with you.
I would agree with that too. If we were expanding the footprint of the house, then it would be a different ballgame. But the foundation is staying the same size. And the work is, we're raising the house and building a new house, but it's all above grade, so.
I guess Kim, I guess I'll defer to Kim on whether she feels, this falls under the purview of a minor modification. I mean, I think it does, but she's the expert.
It was certainly something that gave me a little bit of pause, and that's why you're seeing it here tonight before you instead of, me just saying it's so administrative. I'll just do it administratively. All of the work seems to be within the footprint of the area that the commission previously approved under their existing permit. So, without having the advantage of going through the original hearing process, it does seem to me like a series of minor modifications. But it's definitely one that, it's a little bit of a gray area.
So I just wonder, since it is raising a house and rebuilding it, we don't need more detailed plans of erosion control and.
But the foundation is staying the same. They're raising the wood part of the house. They're doing some foundation work to correct some structural cracks. But the previously approved addition is entirely new foundation, new structure. And we've reviewed that during the original notice of intent. So as I said, the new structure is really above grade.
Okay, so there's no excavation. It's not like pulling out the foundation and re-putting in another foundation in the same footprint. So there's no excavation, I guess. Is my question.
There'll be some excavation to repair some structural cracks in the foundation. But the excavation for the garage addition has already been done, and I think those footings are already in. So the bulk of the foundation work is complete. But you're right, no major excavation for the foundation. It's really the superstructure.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
So I'm kind of with Carrie on the bait and switch, and Mr. McIntyre just said something interesting. So the owner began to dig the foundation for a new garage and then said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to sell.
No. The new owner, Ravenwood, proceeded with the previously approved plan to put the garage addition on.
And then changed their mind and said, actually, now we just want to build a whole new building.
Pretty much, yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes. Go ahead, Kim.
So, and Mr. McIntyre, correct me if I'm wrong, but it did. There was a pre-construction meeting between Mr. Verrill and a representative of Ravenwood, in which some of the there's some discrepancies between the plans that the contractor had and that Matt was looking at from, our plans of record. And that's kind of what started this conversation, was just kind of noticing these little discrepancies between the plans. So it seems like the builder had, some different ideas that weren't necessarily already approved when they went to do the pre-con.
Right, and that's why we're here today. I wasn't privy to that pre-con, but subsequently we talked to the contractor and identified what he wants to do, and that's where we are now.
Sure.
Yes, Matt.
Yeah, just for clarification for the commission's knowledge. So at the pre-construction meeting, I noted that, I was starting to talk about the buffer zone restoration area, and I was kind of getting a bit of a blank stare from the contractor. And I said, can you show me the plan you're working off of? And sure enough, it was not the plan that had been fully approved by the commission. It was an earlier iteration of the plan. But at the pre-construction meeting, the builder didn't give any indications that he was planning to raise the house or anything. So I don't think, unless he did a really good sell job, that it doesn't seem as though that was the plan all along, and that it sounds like they, as things moved along, they decided, okay, this house is in just such bad shape, let's just take it down and put another one in its place. So there definitely was some confusion on the builder's side as far as where, what he had for a plan, where he got it. I have no idea. Obviously, he should have checked with Kim, right off the bat. But as Mr. McIntyre stated, I think we're pretty much all on the same page here now. And certainly, if I'm guessing that had they come in initially and said, well, we're going to tear it down, the commission might have said, oh, great, can you tear it down and pull it out of buffer zone? Wouldn't that be nice? Perhaps there's room to do that, but I think maybe that horse has left the barn.
Okay, Craig Nation, did you have a comment? So you had your hand raised. Craig? Okay. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Is the commission good with this?
I'm finding it a little difficult, and I wonder.
Well, we need some definitive answers, not a little difficult.
Yeah, will you let me finish, please?
I will. Go ahead.
Could we put a condition on this that says that restricts to the currently existing foundation? And if for some reason the currently existing foundation is deemed inadequate and needs to be redone, that we can review this again?
Am I muted?
Yep, you were, Craig, but hold on a second. So yes, we can condition that, Ed, but I think that was the intent as we had discussed. But go ahead, Craig Nation, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was chiming in saying that was me at the pre-construction meeting. The plan that I had was the septic plan, which for whatever reason, which we have a permit for whatever reason that slipped through the cracks, I guess, because maybe it was outside of the 100. I don't know. But anyways, at that point, once we realized we were going to go back to you guys, that's when we added these other little changes on here to try and make it better, since we were coming back to you anyways. So that's what the additional changes are. And yeah, we're the plans to keep that old foundation. I have the footings for the new addition are already in, but it doesn't seem to make much sense to keep the wood structure there with what we want to do. But the plans to keep that foundation.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I think we got a good kind of overview of what the scope is. Is there anyone who's opposed to approving this as a minor modification? Okay. All right. I think we're good to go then. So we'll move along. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Public forum requests, Kim.
Yes, we have 2 public forum requests tonight, both related to the Fox Hollow subdivision. So these are the COC requests associated with 3 Fox Hollow and 5 Fox Hollow Road. These were previously discussed by the commission, these sites recently, in regards to their PIBs. Matt went out and did a review. Matt, do you want to go through your comments?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, everything's fine. This this memo ended up being probably a little bit longer than it needed to be, because there was the discussion previously about the PIBs. I think probably the only item of note is that the erosion controls still remain and should be replaced. Removed. Sorry. But I think the commission had kind of gone through the whole PIB discussion and come to agreement on that. So other than that, I think these are probably good to go unless Kim has something.
I just wanted to note, Matt, one of your comments was that the plans were missing a stamp. I did look through my files, and the paper plans that I have on file do have the appropriate stamps and signatures.
Okay, yeah, that was the other comment was thank you, Kim. The electronic copies were missing everything, but I kind of guessed that maybe the paper copies were good to go. So.
Okay, so the only outstanding item is just removal of the ECBs there.
Sounds like it.
All right, so Mr. Diaz, I think, we can vote on the issuing the COCs pending just removal of the siltation fence. Does that sound good to you?
Yep, that sounds good. We only haven't pulled it out yet because we wanted you guys to kind of give it the all clear before we did. So if you're satisfied, we're satisfied.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we appreciate you hanging in there for, you've been on the call for a while for a fairly small approval. So if I can just get a motion to approve the issuance of the COCs, the 2 COCs for Fox Hollow.
I'll make that motion.
So
This is
moved.
Ted.
All right, and a second.
Second.
Jim, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Barry, Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay,
Great.
thank you, Mr. Diaz.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate all your time and your help.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too.
All right, Kim, I think, does that wrap up our work session and public session, public forum items?
Yes, sir.
All right, Matt, did you have an announcement that you wanted to make? Or
Sure. But does somebody else want to say something?
what's that?
All right. No, that's fine. Yeah, so I have decided that I am retiring from the environmental consulting world to focus on my alpaca farm here in Harvard. And I believe my next meeting with you guys will probably be my last meeting. I'm going to see through sort of anything that's ongoing, and certainly I'll be available to Kim going forward for whatever history or to bounce stuff off of, and that certainly goes to any commission members that want to reach out to me. I'll be around. This is sort of something that's been coming for a while. I'm very excited about it. And just wanted to let you guys know, I had a nice conversation with Jeff a couple weeks ago about it, but wanted to let the rest of the commission know. And yeah, I think you're in very good hands with Kim, and Joe Orzell with Lucas will be taking over probably in an interim place, and we have somebody in the bullpen warming up to take over permanently in Hopkinton probably after the first of the year, but there'll be more to come on that. So yeah, that's it. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, happy for you.
Congratulations.
Really?
Congratulations. Thank you for everything.
Congratulations, Matt.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's well deserved, Matt. You've done a great job. Yeah, I've enjoyed working with you these past, I guess it's been 6 or 7 years now.
I think it's probably closer to 3 or 4. It just feels longer, I guess.
But
you've done a great on people.
You've done a great job. We appreciate it. And I will say to the other commission members, the llama socks that Matt sells at his farm are like the most comfortable socks you'll ever wear. They're unbelievable. So you have to get some because You just have to
Are
be
you gonna-
careful, like when you wash your wood floors, if you're not careful, you kind of skid along in them. But they're
Oh, I
very
thought these
comfortable.
socks- Oh, these aren't socks for the alpacas. These are socks made from the alpacas. I got it.
Yes, yeah.
Very good, Jim. Yes.
Matt, do you want to give a plug?
Are you
Is
gonna
there
have
a,
a
Jim, are you saying that I have alpaca feet? What do you, I'm not quite.
No, I don't even know what an alpaca's foot looks like.
Matt, do you want to give a plug? Do you have a website for your socks?
Or are
Sure.
you gonna come to the Hopkinton Farmers Market and set up a table?
That's not a bad idea. I could do that, I suppose. I don't know if there may already be another alpaca farm that does that, and we don't like to step on each other's toes. So speaking of toes, but yeah, harvardalpacaranch.com is our website, and there's an online store there. You can order online.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
This will be my final act. Will be some violation of some state ethics law, and I'll go down in flames. But who the hell cares?
Tours, huh?
So,
Matt,
yeah, we do tours on the weekend.
alpaca farmers don't like to step on each other's hoofs, isn't it?
Right.
They don't have hoofs. They just have toes. Just
Oh, they
regular
have toe-
feet with toes. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Weren't you on the tour, Jeff? I thought you learned all this. Come on.
Well, I came in
Oh, we
late.
got mittens.
Oh, yeah, there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so we actually just built a new barn shop this spring. It's about 800 square feet. We got a lot of merchandise in there, and a lot of nice gifts and things for yourself or for your loved ones. And yeah, and come on out and meet the herd. We got 31 alpacas on the farm right now, so that's part of the reason it's keeps me pretty busy just caring for all this stuff. So
What was the name of the one that was born on the 4th of July? Independence?
Liberty Bell.
Liberty Bell, that's right. Liberty Bell.
We got 3 babies that were born this summer on the farm right now. So good time to come.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Ed. Check out the farm. It's cool.
Yeah, so Liberty Bell, this is a true story. I am not making this up. My about 5 or 6 great grandfathers back, John Jacob Mickley is the guy who smuggled the Liberty Bell out of Philadelphia under the nose of the British in 1777. And he covered it with that Stand By American cover-up to get it out from under the Brits' noses. And the Stand By, I can't say this in the meeting now, the Stand By American cover-up is, of course, BS. True story.
What? Sorry, I missed it.
He can't say
I
it.
said true story.
Oh, so that was a relative of yours?
Yeah, it's my like 5 or 6 greats back grandfather.
Wow, that's impressive.
He the one that broke it?
No, it got broken before he did it.
Well, Ed, I don't want you coming out to the farm trying to steal my Liberty Bell. I wouldn't appreciate
Hey,
that.
I have a thing for bells,
Matt.
trust me.
Hey, Matt, are you going to name one of the future ones Brandon?
Okay, I'll bite. Why?
No, I'll forget it. It's lost on everybody. Never mind.
Brandon.
No, it wasn't lost on everybody.
Good.
All right. Well, Matt, congratulations. It's been a pleasure and a privilege working with you. We're going to miss you. But we have you for one more meeting. So,
Yeah,
we'll
at least
harass you
one
next-
more. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'll be here in a couple weeks.
All right. So I guess motion to adjourn the meeting
I'll make the motion.
and a second.
Second.
All right. And Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Jeff is an aye. All right, everyone. Have a great night.
Hey.
Thank you.
Jim's an eye too.
Oh, Jim, sorry.
That's
Sorry,
all right,
Jim.
I'm an eye. Thanks, everybody. See
You
ya.
play
have a good
games,
night.
Jeff, and you lose your focus.
I know. All right, thank you.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
guys.
Night.
Right.